Hey, welcome back. Today, let's talk about continuous integration or continuous delivery, continuous deployment. These are all related terms. Sometimes you see that CI/CD acronym or abbreviation, and I would like to explain what that means. So basically, when you're working in a repository and you have several people in your team and several people are writing software, writing code, what we have to know is that usually, other than if you're writing a book and you're working in Microsoft Word, you pretty much see what you get, right? What you see is what you get. Everybody sees at the same time when it's opening your file or taking a look at your screen, it sees the current state of your book project. But that's different to when you're working on a software project. On a software project, usually you have a step in between that you need to take in order to see the outcome of your work. You need to compile the project. That means the source code that you're writing in a programming language is taken, compiled, so translated into real instructions for the computer, which are usually not human readable, and then they are being executed. So we've got this step, this compilation step in between. And usually it's not that simple as compiling one file. It takes into account several hundreds, maybe thousands, tens of thousands of files, and it could take a while. And the idea of continuous integration means that we do this step to gather all the necessary files and to translate them, compile them into something that can be executed and can be run into actually executable, as we like to call it. So something that we can really run and see what the computer is doing when we're running our software. When several people are working on a software project, we need this compilation step to get all the changes from all the people involved. And then we're going to compile and build the project to have a working executable that we can then test and run and see how it's behaving. And since the more people are involved in such a development project, the more hassle and the more complex it gets to actually, get all the changes together, compile that project, maybe even compile it in different versions for iOS, for Android, for bigger screens, for smaller screens, whatever it is. That can get a complex process, and that could mean that if we would have to do this manually, we would like to put things off. As humans, and I'm the first to admit I'm a typical human there. I like to put things off if they're complicated, if they could be weird, if there could be work involved to try to fix and change things when I'm not quite sure how much work is there involved. I try to get rid of it, not really, but postpone it. Delay it some time. And the idea of continuous integration is to automate that compilation, that integration process of getting everything together, all the changes, all the files that are necessary that we need to compile for the software product in order to be able to be executed. We collect that things, everything, we integrate everything more or less continuously. That means we don't really wait for somebody to push a button and then see that everything's breaking, and then he says, "No, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that," and then we sort of leave it for a couple of days, only to make the problem bigger, right? The problem doesn't go away when we're just postponing things and say, "No, I'm gonna deal with it in the future." Continuous integration is the idea to do that several times a day, continuously, more or less. And to be able to identify quickly when something has been checked into the repository, when there's a change by some team member that breaks things, that makes it possible to or impossible to compile the thing, or it just compiles and we can test it, but there's some problems with the tests. And so this continuous integration or CI idea is to make that process, that compilation, that build, that integration process as integrated and as automatic as possible in order to be able to really have that running in the background. And whenever somebody is checking a change into the repository, this continuous integration process starts again automatically because it determines, okay, somebody has checked something into the repository. I'm going to do my integration stuff. I'm going to need to compile everything. So this is done automatically. It's running in the background on a server computer. And then everybody is informed of the outcome. And when the build breaks, meaning somebody checked something in that makes it impossible to build the project, to compile the project, then we notice immediately, and we can change something. And it's not that we don't really notice and keep working day after day, and then after 2 weeks we see, when we try to manually build a project, we see that it's not working at all. No, that's continuous integration is really all about identifying whether something is breaking more or less right at the moment where they are checking something in. And that's the idea of continuous integration. Continuous delivery, continuous deployment means then that we can, at least theoretically, provide that output of that build, the current state of the project, to a customer or to a tester. So a typical thing is that the developers are working on their own little branches, on their own versions, on their own universes of the project. And once a day, usually at night, the whole project is put together, is being integrated, and then is being deployed, meaning installed at a test server, the test environment, where then the tester can the next day can start to see what's been going on, whether everything is still working, see the outputs of any automated tests. So that's the idea. So all of this continuous integration, continuous delivery, continuous deployment idea, these processes, the underlying idea is that we automate these things that can get quite complex. But in order to be able to identify whether something is breaking, whether we've got a problem, really more or less whenever the problem is occurring, we need to automate it, and we can trust that the whole system is set up in a way that we are being constantly monitored in a way that we know when there's a problem that we haven't been aware of, but we are being made aware of the problem in this continuous integration phase, in this step. Whether that's at night, just one time, or whether it's really continuous in a way, like we're building the project 10 times a day with every change, that really depends on the project, on the team, on the environment, on specific requirements. But having a nightly quote unquote build, meaning something where the whole project, a new version of that project, is being built in every night, is something that's quite typical in agile software development projects.